move on. Since 2008, Bill has been the director of photography of the Grommets, Amalgamated Grommets. That's our team name, and we, as a director, it's a joy to work with somebody who, when I say 4 words, he makes magic out of it. I always talk about how the art of this business is figuring out the language of getting words into beauty, and Bill does that very successfely. So, ladies and gentlemen, whether he's ready or not, Bill Bork.
Okay. Are these on? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. On all my microphones. Hi, everybody. I'm going to continue to work a little bit. So, was everybody here for Gary this morning? Yes. You got good notes? Okay, I have nothing more to say. He said it all. One of the things that I thought I would take a quick moment to do while we're getting set up is kind of talk about some of the tools that I carry with me. There's a lot of mic rustles here. Now you can leave them on for just 1 second until I do this, or you can kill them. I'll stand in a lit area. Gary was awesome. Everybody's been really good, but I have some different things that I use that are maybe a little less tech, maybe a little bit more approachable for people. So that was kind of my thing, because this is basically what Gary did. And he talked about food, but maybe we all don't have periscope lenses and stuff like that, but we can all do this. But I'll save that for a minute. But, we talked about black wrap, and the time he talked about black wrap. Well, I save old pieces of black wrap, and I poke holes in them, and then I clip this to barn doors and make funny color, funny patterns on walls and stuff like that. We call it a cheap cookie. So that's a useful thing to have in your bag. If you see a bunch of
hey Bill, what's a cookie?
It's Mike showed you earlier, right?
I actually didn't show it.
Oh, Vigilores?
No, I'm gonna go find one.
It was on the table and I moved it.
Okay, I'm gonna go find one.
There's some place. It's not just me. Oh, batteries. Okay, put it down. Should I be carrying one of these, a circuit tester? It's a real handy thing if you're plugging go into a location and you're not sure if anything is working, then check to make sure that you have good electricity. So it'll tell you, there's little lights on here. It'll tell you if you have a good circuit or if there's a problem with it. It's an awesome thing to carry with you. Small, they're cheap. Home Depot. Yeah. I think Mike talked about practicals earlier. Yes. Remember anything like that? This is a dimmer for a practical, for a regular tungsten bulb. Not a compact fluorescent. Don't do that. But a lot of LEDs and this. So it's really handy. You screw this into the light. They're pretty cheap. You can buy them Home Desperate once again, a bunch of different places. That, but the challenge is they often get left behind. So you got to go around the set, and you see a light that's lit. But a lot of times you don't have. If you have a dimmable bulb, they're too bright, like a hotel room or something like that. When they have a light in the background, it's really great to have this sort of thing where you can change that. It's just a dimmer. It's just an inline dimmer. But a lot of times you can't get to the cord for the lamp is buried behind a sofa or something, and you just want something quick. You can do this. I carry a bunch of them in my bag, And so if I have an issue where I want to dim a practical light, here's a quick way to do that. This is my little AC pouch. Oh, this is a nice tool. A lot of times we're looking at very bright lights. And after you do that, after you look at the sun or a light, you can't see anything. So these are relatively inexpensive. I've lost my gray one. This is a blue one, but then you can look at this. It's very dark color. I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't have a screen there. But anyways, looking through this can help you focus a light so it's right where you want it and not look at the filament of the bulb. Because once you do that, then your eyes are done for 15 minutes. You can't see anything. It's just a little viewing glass. I mean, you can get a piece of not gel, like welder's glass. Yeah. Once again, Home Desperate. It's great for that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. Now, and I carry lens tissue or a lens cloth and cleaner and a Sharpie to mark my water bottle, which is real handy and conservative. Now, what we've done here, now Gary this morning had his light, his soft light. Whoa, that's got a lot of wire in there. And which is wonderful, but it also is a challenge because you have a heavy light up overhead. With he's dealing with the macro, it's not really an issue because he can have the stand relatively close. For this, what my plan is to shoot through this and see our lovely talent in the background there, standing in the wings. Her drink is already waiting for her. I had planned some of the California's freshest wines and herbal refreshment, and I guess there's some law against that. When I went to college, we were much more liberal. That's the high school. Oh, high school. They seem so mature. So in order to get a bounce in the right spot, so we set it up so that it's just like Gary at a 45 degree to the rear. There we go. That's what we want. But is the light in the right spot? Is the bounce in the right spot where you want it? Is it have the right angle to it? Here's a little signal mirror. You can use a makeup mirror, anything. You take this. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take some Velcro, white Velcro, or something else, and I'll put it on the back, and I'll take another piece and I'll stick it right in the center. You can take this and put it there, and you probably can't see that. Trevor? Yeah. Can you see that? Okay, because is it on the monitor behind me? Okay, so now we can now, I'm putting it where I kind of want it, but so you can kind of see the angle, and so by adjusting the light or adjusting the angle of the bounce, you can now get the sweet spot. I see this really handy when you want to bounce you're outside, cloudy day like today, and you want to bounce some light, some soft light into your talent's face. And you can't really see it. You're holding up, you're bouncing, you can't really figure it out. Have your talent close their eyes and put the mirror there, and even if there's a little bit, you can see it a lot better. So this is, once again,
you can even use the face of your cell phone.
Face of your cell phone or sunglasses a lot of times will work in a pinch. But this is a real handy thing just to carry with you. It's a survival. This is, yeah. It's also good if you wanted to look through it, and find your talent or whatever and see where the sun is or how to position your talent. You can kind of do this and
keep the light away.
Right. Make sure your talent's eyes are closed. You don't want to bang them in the eye with a with the sun. But it's really handy. It comes in a lot of times just for positioning and what have you.
Or if you get shot, if your airplane crashes and you're trying to find
That, you know, that always helps. Yes, we can. And can we build the China ball too? All right. Thank you.
Yeah. See you, Stan. Everybody.
All right.
How do you normally rig your
That is not mine. So yeah, and then just kind of fly it over the table. Okay, good. I knew you would. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, here's something special for you people. I know it's high school or college or something. This is a great thing just to carry. I like black. You can hang this on a C-stand, put a light behind it, put a little fan to blow it around. You know, you make some little wrinkles in it, and to have a pattern on the wall. In my book on lighting, I think it's principle number 7. Principle number 7 is it's great to have a camera movement. We don't always have a Fisher 11 or a doorway dolly or a jib or whatever. If you can't move the camera, you can move the light, or have something in front of the light that's moving. And it will still give you that movement. It will still give you that eye interest. That's awesome. So once again, this is pennies. Not quite yet.
Okay, good.
Not quite yet.
I'm going to find you a better branch of horse.
No, that's not necessary. And so, so the story behind this, or my first time doing this sort of thing, was I was hired by a production company. Is Eric here? Oh, he is here. Okay. I was going to talk about you, but no. And that'll be a flag for you. That's somebody you know. I used to do a lot of work with a director. Very much wanted to be the only person that knew what was going on. Kind of a control freak, I guess you could say. And so it was just like in the first couple of projects that we had done together. And we had a new thing that we were starting with high-end resorts, and with high-end resorts come high-end restaurants. And what we were shooting this very nice resort, a little north of here, and we did all sorts of in-room, shots and things like that. Now, this production company had very basic production skills. They weren't really knowledgeable and was very controlling as to what tools that I brought with me. Like I would want to bring, Fresnel light. No, we have lights. Never allowing me to do it. And there was a box of Lowell lights. Everybody worked with those? I call them a box of hammers. It's not that you can't make nice pictures with it, but it's extra hard. In my book, Principles of Lighting, number 2 is that you can make it. It's not necessarily the light that makes nice pictures, but it sure does help to have a nice light. If you have a crappy light, it makes it really hard. So anyways, I driven up just by myself so that I could bring some tools this time, and since it was relatively close to home. And I brought a box of Fresnels, like this, Airy Fresnels, and I brought a piece of foam core, just in case. Threw it in the back of the truck. I had a Volvo station wagon at the time, and so we were busy shooting the hotel, the resort, and all that stuff. And we get to the restaurant, very, very nice restaurant. And the client's there, and the chef comes out and says, I've watched the what do you call them, VHS that you sent me on your work. You can't shoot my food. And the producer is saying, well, but we have a contract and all this stuff. And he was really pissed off. He says, no, I won't let your food stuff looks terrible. I won't let you represent that. And I had to call kind of a quick meeting and say, hey, look, I'm new with this company. I have some ideas. Will you let me try something and see if you like it? If you don't like it, we'll pack this up and we'll move along. But give me a chance to do that. So I pulled out the foam core. I don't know. I had some kind of more rudimentary rig than this, not as nice. Took a Fresnel, bounced it into the piece of foam core, and it was all of a sudden the chef saying, "Okay, now that food has life. It's not a couple of what are those things called? Total lights at 45 degrees, you know." Food warmers, basically, you know, heating up the food. So, how are we doing there?
Sorry, dude, this is just
okay.
ghetto contraption.
It is ghetto. Not as of yet. Okay, we're just gonna. As soon as he gets that. How are you doing, Trevor?
Great.
Okay, great. So. One of the things that I like to do when showing food is, you know, kind of stack things up. And here's a tip for you, a professional tip. And our fine wines that we have for today, fine sodas that we have today.
Not too dark.
Not too dark. Yeah, this is really cloudy. I wouldn't buy this wine. You don't want to go for Merlot. Terrible. It's so dark that it looks, and when it's photographed, it will look like black. So everything wants to be colorful, as undercooked as possible, with as much color. I was doing a commercial for, I've forgotten the name of the restaurant. Long John Silverfish and Taco Bell or something like that. And they brought me out a big platter of food. And I one look at it and it's like, do you have anything that's on beige? You know, it was just like different shades of beige. And I was like, oh man, this is going to make a terrible shot. So anyways, color, shapes, textures are really great. Let's see if I can do this. Over the table and no, round table.
Round table with BG.
Yep. Cressing. So how are we doing on our height?
Candle is just underneath frame line there, so that looks good.
Okay. All right. So
Stacked behind the pineapple there.
yeah, we'll do a dolly move.
Unless we want the pineapple looking for fire. Is that out of frame? Is that pineapple in frame, Trevor? It is in frame. It is. It is very much so. Here's a striking for you frame. Oh, that background is pretty. Let me win. Trevor's arm is in the way.
Bill's arms on the shot. All right. So is that on a squeeze by any chance?
It can be.
It can be. All right. Oh, I love that.
Simmer now, please. Okay. 1K?
Any K. Just squeeze.
Please, would you mind sitting down? Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna sit down. Here's some flowers for you.
Oh, wow.
They're dead. They're dead.
Oh, the guy was dead, now the flower is dead. So you see, I'm the one who kills everything.
You're striking out today. All right. the house lights? You want to dim those down? See where we're at?
Kill the house lights.
All right, that pineapple is just like enormous. So maybe we can make that something less or something. I made something quick. I asked Mike if there'd be any food left over. He said no. So hey. All right. Yes. Not yet. Not yet. And what I want to do with this light, if it were. All right. How's your exposure on your candle in the background?
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay. I can see you in the other room there. Crappy IKEAs. Do you have a piece of duve to put on the backside?
We do.
To kind of. That'd be fine. That'd be fine. Yeah. Net would be. Make it. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. That's fine too. Just throw it over the top. Now, what I wanted to start out with is covering the piece of foam core as much as I can, and keep it in as soft so it wraps around. Now I've made it low so that it's just right over. So if you can see how the food has it's nice and highlights over here, and then it kind of falls off, and we have a nice range of between shadow and highlight.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So if we were to do, we'll just run through this. I got nothing to see. Okay. No, go. All right. All right. Just do a creeper. Yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah, there's some wine over there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is creepy. Now, when I'm working with a dolly and tabletop stuff, what I will often do is sit on the floor and pull the dolly with my hand instead of standing. This is a heavy dolly, but if it was something a little bit lighter, then you can just easily just move it, because you can't stand up and walk with it. So and track is even better still if you have that to. Excellent. Oh, looks beautiful. Helps to have some lovely background. That's very nice. How's our exposure on the candle in the back? Did I ask you that?
Our candle in the back is hot.
That's okay. That's okay. No, because I want to put that on our foreground. Okay. Let's see. Now, another thing, if you're dealing with a restaurant, doing a commercial or whatever, or quite often the chef is a very good food stylist, not the Long John Silverfish, but I mean a real restaurant. They can be really good at styling food. If you're doing tabletop for a real client, hire a stylist. They'll bring props. They know how to make things look really good. Okay, and that's very awesome. So what's our stop?
4, 5, 6 foot.
And do we?
800 ASA.
Okay. Can we slow it down? We'll go 2. Give us.
Want to slow it down?
Yeah, if we can.
Yeah.
Just to give us, so our background's a little bit softer.
That's a 5.6.
No, I want
You want to
to.
open up?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
If we can.
I don't have any ND on me. That's a 2A. Right there.
2A?
That helps you out.
Okay.
That's WFL. Yes, right.
So what I would do here to improve this is to make our background a little bit softer, and so that our attention goes to the food. Okay. So you can kind of get the sense of that. Anybody have any questions on that? Good. Moving on. Oh, another tip. Film tools. These are nice for on your dolly. Put your water bottle there, Trevor, so that they don't, you can
Wind
put
up underneath the fisher's arm.
That's right, and or your coffee in one, or your cell phone. You want to try and keep the dolly free of a collection of bottles.
No matter how hard you try.
Yeah. I worked with somebody who would always say, "It's a dolly, not a deli." Okay.
I always have this problem. Cast, when we work, they always put plastic bottles on there. I can never get
Really?
Yeah, and I had a shot. I shot it, didn't notice it. It's a piece of plastic.
Wow.
They always do that.
Yeah.
Never allow them to put. I don't even have them in the building. If they're gonna have any kind of plastic, I have them outside.
Yeah. Or in your pocket or whatever. I put my name or my initial on the cap so I can, keep it.
Crews are not as sophisticated as you.
Well, but we can learn.
They always do it.
Yeah. So that's
the
a
flame
candle.
of the candle.
That's the candle. So now the next step down. Can you stop down from me, Trevor?
I could do things for you, Bill. Just the foreground.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I just kind of wanted to play. Are you done with your? Okay. And I can't see what. Okay. So sometimes what I'll do, depending upon can you frame me up with the wine? You have some heavy duty diffusion.
Yeah, like 216.
216-ish would be good.
For that guy?
No, for here.
For this guy, copy that.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes you want to have on like glass. My plastic wine glasses aren't going to show that, but it's. Does this not have a globe in it? Okay. Are we not? Oh, there.
There's a globe in it. Yeah.
You see if I'm plugged in on the other side?
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe it's the light. I don't know. See, now, if I had a circuit tester, damn it, what did I do with that? Oh, my. Sounds like he's 100 miles away.
Sorry about that.
Nope. That's okay. We'll do it another way. So sometimes when I have a light into a piece of glass, and what really works nicely, like if you have a nice collection of wine bottles or something like that, just as Gary said, reflections are what you're working with, which can help you or kill you. So what you want to do is, if you look at wine commercials, you'll see like a long slit type of thing. That's a highlight. It's not a hot spot. It's not a direct thing like that. It's like a long slit. Still no? Wires. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So
we got 300s and 150s, and but they're the only other.
We'll just do this.
Okay.
So no.
We're gonna do a fill.
Trev, are we seeing?
Hey,
I'm just want to hold it in. So it's coming up. So I'm trying to get a little line on the.
Yeah, you are.
glass.
You're getting most of the rating though. Here, flip the board.
Oh, duh. Read the top line.
I'm getting something about loose lock. Yeah. Fly that out, please. There we go.
Want it your way or?
That's a production tip, by the way. Never buy foam core. Go to the convention center in the back and just get the old signs that they have, because they leave them in the corridors back there.
How far over do you want to see the line?
I don't want to see the board. I just want to see something in the glass. No, I don't want to see there's the board. So now I just have to work this in. I can see it from here, my angle. What I usually do is I'll take something that's very soft. It could be a soft box, or like I was asking for a piece of heavy diffusion on a light, and I'll make a slit and I'll just point it at it. You have to be really careful, because right now I see. Oh, I see that. See how this is the subtle version you see on the pink one, the line that's there. Okay, that's kind of the idea. What you don't want to have is this, and that's our 650 that's on the ground or behind. Okay, that's close. That's a close thing to what I was after. And Tom, the award-winning Wings and Things food shot. One says WNF food or whatever. Wings and Things. There's no place to see it? Oh, I thought we had it on the side. On this other.
It's up.
Okay.
It's still wired. I had to take that output.
Okay. All right. Well, if you were in another room.
Hang on a second. Okay. Stand by. Hang on.
I thought we'd rehearsed this yesterday. All right. All right. So this is basically the same thing. Lose your dock there. No, it's not you. Okay. So this is essentially the same thing as what we did here, and this is how it plays off in a practical way. Okay. So then this is a 3-time Emmy Award winning commercial, shot exactly like this. Okay. So you can kind of see all the things that we talked about, the highlights. This is the challenging thing here, a hand coming in here, because you have to be careful, because it's easy to overexpose. If I stick my hand in here, it's going to be way hot. So you have to work a flag over that or something over the hand so it's not so nuclear. Okay. Questions on any of that? Okay.
How is the bounce just fill in the shadows?
No, it's our key light.
So, yeah.
It's our key light.
The question was, does the bounce fill in the shadows?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Yes, it does to a certain extent. Because it's so soft, it wraps around. So it will give you that from your highlight to, and it will wrap around in any place. See, if you have texture stuff, this is where the Taco Bell and Long John Silverfish was a problem, because it was just tan stuff, and it was really hard to see. But now with all this texture and color, I mean, it's really great. On the papaya, I left all the seeds in there so it has contrast. Okay.
So you were saying about if your hand was in there, it would be hot. Can you show us now that it's on the screen of what we
Sure. Can we go back to camera?
Okay, camera's up.
Okay. So I don't know.
So how do you correct for that?
Well, and I was kind of out of it. It was like it would be in this area. Yeah, you just have to position the hand so it's not hitting any hard light. See, if I'm here, I got hard light on it now. So if I'm lower, then I'm out of the hard light. Sometimes, depending upon how the bounce is, I'll take a flag or a finger. A finger is a small flag, and fly it over that spot. So I'll put it right up against the back, or in your case, the back side of the foam core. So that's, or a small net, something that's going to cut the light down in that area. And because our light source is so large and soft that you don't necessarily see that, but the hand that's closer to the source is going to show, it's going to help that area. You're not necessarily going to notice it when it's further away on your subject. Okay, good there? Since Gary said all this, I'm going to talk less. And yes.
I'm a novice at this, but there's a white line. Is that white line supposed to be there?
That's the foam core. It's outside of frame line.
I know that's so
What an error.
Yeah.
Can I?
When we have a very nice camera, it gives us a little.
I'm going to speak to this a second. See the gray area here?
Right.
There's a gray area up there as well. That gray area is the frame edges of the footage that you're actually going to end up with. The extra area down there and above is area that the viewfinder gives you that you can see into. Correct?
Yeah. So we're actually shooting 2K right now. We're just framed for 1.85:1.
So you actually get the entire frame. The stuff that you see in gray is the full 2K area, so you'd be able to pan and scan that, but we're framed for 1.85:1, and we can change those frame lines in camera to whatever you want your output to be, just so the monitor can see. But so basically, yeah, exactly. We're outside of our frame line, so this is what we were looking for. We know that white's not going to be in.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's referred to as look around, the space that you're using, but not shooting.
Where that comes in real handy when you're using a nice camera like this, that you have that ability, is to see when a boom comes into the shot. All right, you've seen that all the time. If you have a lot of times with a lesser camera, you don't know if you have a boom in the shot until it's in the shot. Then you have to go to post to do something with it. That's a problem. Yeah. All sorts of times that it comes in really handy. That's why having a nice camera like this is so helpful. All right, we're good on that. Yes. All right.
Question?
My question was, you mentioned the flag before, the finger at the bottom. Could you just move the whole foam core up?
No, because I want to.
The question was, instead of using a small finger flag below the foam core, couldn't you just move the whole foam core up?
Those bottles look kind of hot to me.
What's that now?
The bottles look hot.
They very well could, because we don't have any ND, neutral density, to drop. And I wanted to have a larger stop so that we could throw the background out of focus. We're a little bit hampered with a lack of a tool.
It's free.
What's that now? What's free?
This is free.
Yeah. Free, just $1.
Trevor, are you at base ISO right now?
I'm base ISO 800. Yes.
Okay. So
yes, Francine.
I have a question on this scene, but I also have a second question that's more of a general cinematographical question. But on this setup, I know this is disproportionate, but I remember from another workshop you gave before that you like to layer. You like to layer scenes where you have a foreground interest, but your real interest is somewhere either in between or in the back. Can you speak a little bit? I know this is not proportionally correct, but if really the emphasis was on this figure, this talent here, how would you approach that so that you're using this kind of as a supplemental foreground?
Okay, the question for the recording is, Bill has spoken in the past of using layers, foreground and background, in his images. And how would you go about doing that for this particular shot?
Well, right now, this is a food spot. So the food is what I want to have, you know, up front. Our lovely restaurant and patron is background. She fills it out so that it gives us that interest. You know, I always feel funny when I'm looking at a restaurant spot and nobody's in there. You know, it's always kind of like, whoa. So that's a way to. We've done that. Food is one. Here's our number 2 and our number 3. Okay, so we have our 3 layers of interest, and really our brick wall is a number 4. Okay, so we have stacked that up. So that's basically it. And here as well with the food itself. So right now, because of our stop, once again, everything is in focus. If we were at a 2.8,
We're at 2.8 right now.
we are at 2.8 now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we had a longer lens, we could have a shallower depth of field. We could collapse that, and then maybe make some moves within the food to show interest, depending upon what we're doing.
So in this case, with the emphasis being on food rather than just a traditional static shot, you know, of the food, you chose to layer.
That's correct.
A lot more interest and a lot more depth.
Do you want to recap that, or should I?
You can.
Okay. Yes, I've chosen to layer our interests both in our main subject and also in our background, so that we have that depth. So it's not just a flat thing.
Did you have a second?
I had a second question, but it's more of a cinematographical.
Okay, maybe we can do that while we change. I'm going to try and do another. Do we have time for another setup?
If you're really, really quick.
Okay, maybe not, because it's a change. Go ahead, Francine.
Okay, so the other question relates to as a cinematographer, but it also relates to editors as well. Sometimes when you're shooting, obviously, a feature or something that's narrative, you have the shot that's going on. But you also maybe have a sequential scene that's going to be connected and is going to be happening after this scene and it's connected. So do you find yourself, when you're setting your shot up for that first scene, like maybe justifying to the left or justifying to the right because of where the talent is going to exit the scene to help it set up more easily for an editor? Do you find yourself ever thinking sequentially in the...
The question is, when you shoot narrative, are you do you have an eye on what later happens in the scene in terms of entrances and exits
and on the wall there,
and
just show that
where everything is moving toward? Go ahead, Bill.
I'll just show it. I'll just I'll just talk about it instead of relighting everything.
To help with continuity.
Well, I think one that's something that should be on the shot list or from the director knows that how they want that to look. Depending upon the director, I may not know what's coming up next. I may not know. So, okay. So, but if I have some idea from that, I might say, okay, how are we getting into this subject? How are we getting out of it, this particular shot? And how do we want to do that? You know, so it's something to keep in mind, always something to keep in mind as the flow of the show. Mr. Director, you have any other comments on that?
As the director, it's the director's job to guide that. It's the cinematographer's job to make the shots work with each other, but it's the director's job to figure out what the shots are. So that's my thought on it.
So then, as a director, then you would maybe give input to the cinematographer that you might want to justify more well.
Yes, I would tell the cinematographer,
yeah,
we need to push him over in this side of the frame because this is going to happen. And I would explain that to the cinematographer so that they are getting a sense of the story, because there are times where you get in the middle of a production and you just forget the big picture of what you're doing. And so one of my jobs as director is to remind everybody where this fits in the big picture.
Okay, so now you can, I kind of changed things around a little bit. Hey, woohoo, it's just gel. Don't worry about it. Okay, so what I did is a couple of things that we did. Dropped a double wire scrim into the light so that we could open up the lens. And I'm not going to deal with that one. Okay. Oh, tape. It smells good.
We found our fog machine.
So what I did is I moved the light in closer and I raised the bottom door so to kind of minimize that highlight. And if this was a real thing, I would probably set a flag to make sure that we didn't have these at all. And that's where this other light would have come in. So because now it looks kind of dead. And so by bringing in, another piece of foam core or a nice soft source on this to give it an edge. And we might even come from back here, depending on, that's a good point, because we talked about that. If you're doing something that's supposedly hot, okay, hot food isn't going to last hot for very long. So you want to create some steam, like in the wings and things spot.
Just put some tape on a scrim.
Yeah. One way to accomplish it. And then I did behind the light, behind the food. So with top light, you're not going to see the steam very well. You need a strong backlight for that. And so that way we would stick it back here out of the shot and all we want to do is hit the steam.
Horizontally or up, shot or horizontal, the light from the back.
Yeah, horizontally.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, whatever it takes. You just wanted, like we looked at the dado lights. The projectors are very, very controlled. You could make a triangle if you wanted to do that. You just have to make sure that you're not hitting something that you don't want to hit. But from back here, that you're not going to hit the food that you're photographing. They're not going to hit the side that you're seeing from the camera. But in order to see steam, it needs to be backlit.
The other tip I'll give to that is you want a dark background behind the steam so that it stands out.
That's right.
If you have a light background and you backlight the steam will show up over a white background, which will mean it'll blend in and disappear.
Okay. So the other shot that I was going to set up, but I know we all want to go home and drink more of our soda pop, is that 2 years ago, Holy, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Many of us, made a music video called Holy, and it was shot in a house. It was a real challenging situation because we had people sitting around, and they were up against a bay window, which is kind of on, I think it was the south side or the southeast side. So all this light is coming in. You see the backyard. We were like at an F-16. There was so much light. And the art department, I think it was, took a piece of, what's that stuff called? Not latex. It's
muslin?
No. It was some kind of acrylic material, and it was glowing.
It was more along the lines of
kind of
a painter's drop cloth.
No, it wasn't. That's what we did. Fix it. It was the initial thing that was up against the window was white and glowing. We couldn't shoot it. They were all silhouetted. It was bad. So what I did to fix that is that was right up against the windows, and I'll show you a still of that when Tom gets to that point. And so, but we also had shadows of trees bouncing in front of it, and it was very distracting. I wanted something that was plain, soft, and The other one, please. The wide shot. So I wanted to show.
There it is.
There we go. So this is our window. Now in color correction, it kind of went a little bit of a color that I didn't like, but I didn't want our eye to go to the bushes and the people back there and all that stuff. So this material is right up against the window. What I did, and it was just by accident, as I was gifted this, once again from the Home Desperate, this painter's cloth, this painter's drop cloth. And it's a nice warm color. And I put that about 6 feet back. Now you can go to the other one. The other one. So, and I really like how this is nice and soft and warm and wraps around, and it falls off nicely from the background. And we had a little bit of light just to killing me. Woo! A little bit of a kicker just to outline her there. Okay, but almost all the light that we have is coming from those windows. Wow. Okay, and it's nice and wrap around, and we could look at the windows without it being nuclear. So and that was a really fun spot to create.
You had drapes in front of it, so you couldn't see the drop cloth.
No, this is a prop. Okay. Okay.
Tom, can you go back to the wide shot?
What we did, if you see that, this is over her head. This is replicated on the other side. And so that's what you're seeing there. But so there was no drapery. What's behind there is a C-stand. It's hiding a C-stand. And then we had a goalpost going across, and we had lights hanging from it. Originally, that was going to be their only light source. Since, there's a challenge often when you're doing this sort of, is that if you can see outside, if you have windows, light changes as the day goes by or goes into night. And if you're lighting solely from daylight, you have a problem. And it's really hard to duplicate that. So what we had done is we had hung Kino flows up against the ceiling, and the initial call was to screw them into the ceiling. And the house was for sale or just sold, and I didn't want to do that. And in the drawing from the art department,
I wanted to do that.
Mike wanted to screw them into the ceiling. And so I said, we have these things here anyways. They were from the art director, these poles. And I said, well, let's just run a pole and hang the lights from that. We will never know that there's a C-stand behind there.
Excellent.
All right. So and I think that it's very nice. It's a moody piece. It's very, very moody. The whole music video is moody. And so I liked the contrast that we were getting from that. And it's a nice little family scene. Okay.
What's the music video about?
And it's titled Holy. Okay. So
we'll tell you later.
Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting story. Okay, questions? One last one from Francine in the front row.
Okay. What can a director do to make the life of a cinematographer more efficient?
I think Gary answered that well.
Well, I didn't ask it the right way, and he didn't. How does a director make life
what can a director do to make a cinematographer's life easier?
Buys me lunch, Back massage is always nice. Yeah, there we go. Mike. You know, I think one of the biggest helps is to communicate and say what this is about. If you know, so often, thank you. So often I go in not knowing what we're up against. I may or may not have brought tools that are going to be helpful for the show. You know, it's like I would really hate it if I had something sitting in my garage that would have made a big difference in the production. So I think communication is good. You know, a lot of these things, you know, Mike talked about our experience with 48 hours. We don't have that luxury. You know, the story's barely dry on the paper before we shoot it. So there's not that advance notice. So, but if, you know, here's one example that was really, really nice. Several years ago, the Amalgamated Grommets had a romantic comedy. Was that Undercovers? Is that right? And we had talked about a sleazy hotel room was our location. And I walked in and Mike shows me a YouTube clip that was 180 degrees from that and said, let's do this. And I said, cool. You know, here's a picture of what he's thinking about.
It was the movie Out of Sight with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez.
Oh. I'm fascinated with neon TVs. Yeah. So that was really helpful to see a picture of what the idea was. Several months ago now, Mike and I went to watched Blade Runner, and we sat and talked about it afterwards and what we liked about it, things that we thought worked and things that didn't. So went and saw Hateful Eight, and we criticized the hell out of that as to, you know, what was wrong with the lighting on that. Why did they do that? You know, as far as lighting is concerned. So the two extremes. I mean, really, you know, Hateful Eight to the Blade Runner. Yeah.
Right. So, any last questions?
Seeing none.
All right.
Other room? Does anybody left in another room?
No.
Oh, good. Good. Oh, whoops.
Any last questions? They don't have questions. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Bork.
Woohoo!